What's up and welcome to Cameron+Deanna. My name is Cameron. Still adjusting things back from how they were last time when we had Noe come and join us, but we're back with more Lorcana. I'm rocking my Lone Star Open t-shirt and we're going to be chatting Wilds Unknown, the latest set coming to the world of Lorcana. Hope everyone's had a fantastic weekend and fantastic day. I just got back from listening to one of my coworkers play some music, and so that was super fun. And so we are going to dive in, take a look, as we've done in the past when we do these reviews. We're going to start looking at the rares, super rares, and legendaries as our big categories, and then we'll go and take a look at some other cards as we go through them from the various, either from the set itself or from the formats as a whole, so that we can go and talk through those. And so some very cool stuff. We also got some really cool Encanto stuff coming back in this one, which I'm very excited about. There's also some cool Atlantis cards. And so, yeah, lots of cool cut stuff coming to Lorcana with Wilds Unknown. And so let's jump on in and talk through the 78 rares, super rares, and legendaries in the game. And so kicking us off, we got the Prince. Oh, I think these are like alphabetical or they are by ink cost by color, I believe is the way that the site default formats them. And so yeah, so let's go ahead and dive in. The Prince, O2, quest for 2 for 1, pretty good. Obviously Daisy does this right now as like the primary one-drop quester for Amber decks, and so Daisy will be rotating in the fall and with set 13, so having another 2 quester for 1 is definitely a big deal. Nothing too fancy. I don't let's go the Prince. Is there a shift Prince? No. That's probably something that at some point, if we ever did get, would be a super cool upgrade for this card. But without having one, you're going to be pretty lucky if you can get 2 quests out of this character with them only having 2 willpower. But it is what it is. We'll talk about some ways later on this card can get powered up. Next, we got Alien True Believer, a 1-drop 1/1. This character gets +1 strength for each other toy you have in play. So in Toy Story has a theme of the more toys you have, the more blank. And so, or if you have a toy blank. And so, and then Alien has the ability during your turn, when this character is banished, return another character named Alien from your discard to your hand. So these get to loop themselves as long as you have more than one. Or if you have other aliens, of course. One of the big tenets of Lorcana is the power of names. And so this is a card that the more and more aliens that we get, the better and better this card will become, because it's not get an Alien True Believer back. It's just get a card named Alien. And so like if we go contains Alien. So I do think right now they're the only one. Let's do toy. Yeah, right now they are the only alien, but as that we get more and more, they'll get better and better as they can bring back other cards, since without a doubt Toy Story will be coming back. So next we got John Smith, another 1 questing 2/2. Cool. A 1 questing 1/1 that quests for 2. 1 ink. Man, we're tired today, everyone. I also did some yard work this morning, and let me tell you, it took it out of me. Next, we got Rex, the protective dinosaur, the best T-Rex there ever was. And so a 3/1 for 2 is inkable, which is a pretty nice thing. So when your bodyguard isn't good, you can always ink them. And then during your opponent's turn, when this character is banished, gain a lore. I love this style card of like, we had it with Bagheera, the Steel Bagheera, that when it had bodyguard, and then when it was banished, an effect happened. I like stuff like that. Just an extra layer of challenge to get rid of. And then this is also cool because it doesn't matter how Rex is banished. They just have to be banished. And so there are some cards that have the, like, when they're banished in a challenge, blank happens. But this one is just if they get got. And so as long as you're using Rex to quest with, basically, which is pretty cool. Next up, Monterey Jack, Hypnotized by Cheese. 03 quests for 3, a 2-drop, uninkable. They can't quest unless you have a character with 4 willpower or more in play, which is, I mean, I want to say a relatively sizable requirement, except for the fact that Daisy exists. And like, again, as we talked about with the Prince, Daisy is rotating soon, so this card will only have 3 months in the format with Daisy. But like, the fact that the best 1-drop in this color is also a card that meets the criteria makes this pretty trivial. And then as long as there are, again, I'd planned on like looking through stuff afterwards, but here we are. We want a filter, we want willpower, we want 4 or more, and then we want them to be 1, 2, or 3. Oh, and then we want characters. And so, yeah, so there's a good number. Thomas is staying in the format. Nala and Daisy are both rotating. I guess by staying in the format, I mean core. Obviously, things are completely different if you look at Infinity. Palace Guard is rotating. Because that does feel like that would be really good in the Amber Amethyst aggro lists. Okay, David is sticking around and will be in the format the whole time that that Monterey Jack is. So that's definitely something. There's some good options here. Yeah. Oh, Mulan is nice too. That gives you another big quester. You can kind of divide attention. Nice. Next, the Dorbach. I don't know how to say their last name. Dunbrock, probably what it is. If we actually read the letters that are there. The Dunbrock family tapestry. 2 inkable item. When this item enters, it enters play exerted, and then you can exert it and banish it. Each player shuffles all character cards from their discard into their deck. I love effects like this. I wish this drew a card also or something. Like each player shuffles all cards of their discard into their deck, then you may draw a card, just to have some sort of upside. Lorcana kind of has the problem, air quotes problem, right now that not enough decks need their discard really to function. And so there are a handful of individual cards that are extremely powerful. 5-drop Lady for the Dogs deck. You also have Lilo that comes back from the discard. So there's a lot of interesting stuff there, and we saw a big push in Whispers ? Or maybe it was Winter Spell for the frozen cards playing out of your discard, but that hasn't really taken off. But we'll see. This could be something that's a nice way of triggering. And if we ever do get a deck kind of like Dredge and Magic that really wants to power out of its graveyard or out of its discard, you can use this. Pizza Planet. Let's click so that we actually have. So your toy characters can move here for free. Oh, it's a 2-drop location, 4 willpower, 1 lore. When a character is challenged while here, each opponent loses 1 lore. That's super cool. If you could get a character here that basically had bodyguard for locations, I think that would be really interesting, to where they have to go into that character. Because if they have to send 2 or 3 characters at your 2 or 3 challenges at your character, that's a huge lore drain, while ideally your location just gets to sit there. The challenge with a lot of these location decks is that you can either ignore the characters that are there, or you can ignore the location. It's hard to have both. And so next up, Hercules. He's just a kid, young rescuer. When you play this, or a 2-drop 2/1. When you play this character, you may discard your hand. If you do, return a character from your discard to your hand. So this is going to, assuming this works like Doc, the benefit here is that you can discard 0 cards and then just get a character out of your discard, which is pretty cool. I think probably broadly speaking, drawing 2 random cards with Doc will be better than just getting a random character, but Volcano Los Dos, like this does buy you a lot out of your discard, and it does give you a really fun like toolbox of your banished characters that you can work with. So that's pretty cool. Weirdly enough, I kind of wish this was like a higher cost card. Like being a 2-drop is going to fall into the same problem as Doc, where sometimes you just have to play this and you just don't want to discard your hand, and it's just a really weak character. Compared to if this was like a 4 or 5, you could more reasonably be lower on cards and have a way of buying stuff back more easily, or more easily in the play pattern. But I guess it being cheap does get you stuff back. So there's that. Hero work, let's go Incredibles. I am hyped. As I said when we were chatting with Noe, I love Incredibles, and I am shocked that we have them already, and it makes me so happy. So it's an action. Your characters get +1 strength this turn. Your hero characters gain whenever this character challenges another character. Each opponent loses 1 lore, and you gain a lore this turn. So it pumps up your heroes and then gives them kind of like classic Aladdin. I think that card did 2 lore instead of 1, but it gives that to all of your heroes. So that's a pretty cool effect. I like this as like a mechanic of like getting lore for challenging is always very strong. You could partner this with Steel with, Calhoun isn't a hero, I don't think. Steel. I was hoping that it would just be like super up on the top and I wouldn't have to search. Oh, there you go. Oh, Calhoun is a hero. Oh, okay. So that's super cool then. So like this partners with Calhoun, and so you would drain your opponent for 1, gain 3 lore on the challenge. That is pretty cool. Obviously, a lot of the, since they did hero, not super, a lot of the princesses are all heroes and stuff like that. So there's a lot of cool synergy there in blue as well. Remote Inklands is our next location, one of the poster locations for the set. 2-drop, 2 to move, 6 willpower, 1 lore. At the start of your turn, put the top card of your deck into your discard. And then characters here get 2 strength. Cool. If you're going to get this down against a slower deck and get like 4 to 5 lore off this, that's pretty great. You really need a payoff for getting stuff out of your discard, like that Hercules. I do like that you don't necessarily have to put a character here. Like, strangely enough, this could be decent in like a controlling deck. Something like blue-red items with like the Hamatoas. So you could try to be milling your items, then get them back, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it kind of gets to the problem with the family tapestry of like, not a lot of decks that want to do stuff out of your discard, but as the game grows, we get more and more of that. Edna mode, 2-drop 2/2, quests for 1. You can exert to ready chosen item, and then while you have an item named Supersuit in play, this character gains ward. And so let's go see. I don't know what Supersuit is rarity wise, so let's go take a look. Okay, so it's purple. So when you play this item, you may have your character. Just start over, man. When you play this item, if you have a hero character in play, gain a lore, and then exert and pay 2. If you played a hero character this turn, draw a card. And so then that gives Edna. So that would be, you'd have to like play a hero, have 2 for the super suit, exert Edna to ready the suit to then pay 2 more. That feels a little win more-ish. But the fact that you can just like play this and gain a lore with your supers is really cool. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you probably wouldn't be going blue purple for if you're going to be playing the Incredibles, but it is a cool piece of synergy there. Diablo Stone Servant. 1/3 quests for 1. When you have a villain character in play, this character gets +2 strength and quests for 1 more. So +1 lore. When this character is exerted, your villain characters can't be challenged. So it's like not bodyguard, but is kind of bodyguard-esque. It's bodyguard shaped. Like, so Diablo is an ally, not a villain. So like they can just go into Diablo here, which ideally would be a 3/3 that has quested for 2, which is pretty cool. If you get a good like 3-drop villain to go off of this, like that's pretty cool. We'll look at some other of the awesome villains later on, but I like this Diablo. I think this is cool. Also, I've been practicing Emerald Steel for Infinity, and so like I have Emerald Steel Diablo on the mind, and so don't think this one will fit in there, but the deck does have villains, let me tell you. Touch the Sky, our first Brave card. Oh no, we had the Tapestry earlier. It's an action song. Move a character of yours to a location for free, then draw cards equal to that location's lore. That feels like gas. Like of course you have to have a location in play, a character in play, and then be willing to sing this, but like this is pretty reasonably a 2-cost song that draws 2+ cards. Like I was talking to Sneaky. There's a cool location like deck that's kind of been going around because we had it in one of our previous sets. I hate that all of this stuff is sideways. Yes, this one. If you have a character here, this location gets +1 lore for each other location you have in play. So like if you could get 2 of these in play, and then like have a character at one, you could then move them to the other one and gain a bunch of lore. That seems pretty cool. This is also a free way of like, you could play this on 3, play something else on 4, sing the song, and then move your character over, like play another location on 4, and that could give you some more lore also. And so, yeah, so that's some cool stuff. Again, we need a location deck. There hasn't really been one, and a lot of location decks don't want a lot of locations. But it's some cool stuff. Next up, Syndrome's Remote. It's an item for 2 uninkable. Chosen character can't challenge during their next turn. Learn from their losses. Whenever a robot character is banished, you may banish this item and to discard your hand and draw 2 cards. So, again, very Doc-esque if you squint hard enough. Harder to set up. Oh no, not harder to set up. So just whenever a robot character is banished, it doesn't have to be during your opponent's turn. So what you can do is just run out of cards in hand, challenge with a robot, it gets banished, remote triggers, discard 0 cards in your hand, draw 2. That's pretty cool. Obviously, it's not a huge defensive powerhouse as well of like, hey, if you want to stop me from winning, I'm going to get 2 cards. Yeah. Next, Jessie, Lively Cowgirl, 3-drop 3/3, quest for 1. When this character quests, if you have 2 or more other toy characters in play, you may draw a card. Whenever you pay 2 or less to play a card, chosen opposing character gets -1 strength until the start of your next turn. Not unreasonable that you could just do 1-drop toy, 2-drop toy, play Jessie, draw a card. Like that seems entirely feasible that you could do something like that, assuming of course that there are 1 and 2-drop toys. Yeah, you got the Woodies, aliens, cool pterodactyl thing. Oh yeah, Rex that we saw earlier. Yeah, you got Buzzes. Yeah, there's plenty of options at 1 and 2s that you could play. None of them. If one of your toys has been vanished the turn, pay. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say any of them are shocking. RC is super cool. And then obviously like Woody has the shifts as well, and so there's some options there. Yeah, some good stuff, some good possibilities there of what you could do with Jesse. And then obviously this deck wants to just play a lot of small stuff. So like if you can use this as a way of filling your hand back up, again, kind of a classic Lorcana challenge of characteristic decks tend to not be strong enough. There's just not enough synergy there to offset playing the best cards in the color, especially when it comes to aggro decks. And so this may end up just being too cute to try to get enough toys, and you might just occasionally do this, or the card becomes like less of an actual 3-drop and more of a card you'd play later. But we'll see. Short term, I kind of doubt we'll see it replacing Amber with any of the toy stuff, or at least the toy synergies. So next, you've got a friend in me. I won't sing too much, so that way it doesn't hurt people's ears. But here we are. So 3-drop Song Inkable. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal up to 2 toy character cards and put them in your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your deck in any order. So there's another card that does something similar to this, and it's good when it's good. And the fact that this is a functional draw card, like in Lorcana, since you don't have to play lands or energy, like you can build your deck in a way that is like 45 toys and then 15 support cards, and like pretty reasonably hit 2 toys most of the time, and that just becomes like card advantage, which is great. Next up, potentially one of the most important like long-term cards for Lorcana in Metamorphosis. Shift a character from your discard for free. Obviously very difficult normally to shift from your discard. But do I have it? Let's do my decks. I had been brewing Okay, so I put this together in set 10, I think. And maybe this was set 9, right at like rotation. Yeah. So the premise of this deck, let me change to this. It was just an interesting like thought experiment I was messing with, is the idea of like having this princess build that's built around the queen. So you have a way of discarding your princesses and queens, and then you can bring them back with Circle of Life. So this like gives you another option, because this lets you play the shift cards out of those. So like this shell is like definitely not the vibe, but like I think that that's a really interesting thing. Metamorphosis does ask a lot of you, because you need a shift card in your discard. You need a card they can shift onto in play, and you need Metamorphosis. So like that is a lot of pieces to get going. But there's a lot of draw discard with like Mulans and stuff like that. And so like you could possibly do like the Steel Mulan, and then have this as a way of discarding your shift cards for something else. I think like a lot of the bigger shift Mulans are red. I guess that one's not shift, but like, yeah. So like you would definitely run into a problem there of like you want steel and you want amber if you were going to play the Mulan style, but there's a lot of discard options, like draw and discard. So next up, we got When You Need Help, Just Call. It's another 3-drop song. If an opponent has more characters in play than you may play a character with cost 4 or less for free. So like the fact that you could like play a 3-drop and then sing this and play a 4-drop for free and then play a 4-drop for your turn is very powerful. Then also in Infinity, you have the Cindy that like sing is a 1-drop and sings for 3, or you have Angel with the Underdog that like If you're going second, like Angel will be really good for this because like your opponent goes first, they play a character, you go second, underdog, play Angel. They are on their turn 2, they play another character, and then Angel could sing a Cood or could sing this. And then it just lets you skip so much ink. Like this just puts the Steel Angel in play for free, like very early in the game. That's pretty cool. Next up, Andy's Room. 3-drop, was it 2 to move, 8 willpower. If you have only one character here, this location gets 2 willpower and an extra lore. So 10 willpower is a lot. And then just gets you 2 lore every turn. Again, like this is something like if you can protect this and make it so your opponents can't like easily challenge into it, 2 lore on a 3-drop is a lot. This also works great with that song, the Move song, that I've lost. Am I crazy? Touch the Sky. There we go. Because this moves a character here to Andy's room, which then makes it bigger. And so then you get to draw an extra card and it just pumps up the location and it gets around that move cost. So like you play a 2-drop, play Andy's Room on 3, touch the sky, draw 2, and immediately have a character there. That's pretty good. Our first legendary, Snow White, Merry as the Morning, a 3-drop, 2/3 quests for 1. When this character quests, you may return chosen 7 dwarfs character of yours to your hand to draw a card. During your opponent's turn, when this character is banished in a challenge, return this card to your hand. So Snow White keeps coming back. It is never forgotten, A+ like flavor there. And then also does some cool stuff with the 7 dwarfs. The biggest thing, of course, is going to be with the steel dock. Like this lets you bounce dock to your hand, you draw a card, you can then play that card, play dock, and then you're in great shape. So like that's really cool, very strong there. You do have to be careful that you're not just like ending up in a tempo black hole where like you're not progressing the board, you're just bouncing stuff. There is also a lot of really cool 7 dwarves in the set, and so we got a whole new batch of all of them, and so there's some interesting stuff here. And so like when this character is banished, if you have a 7 dwarf or a princess in play, draw a card. Just a vanilla, but it's a 2, so like you can also be using Snow White as a way to reset damage. So like you could play Happy, challenge with it as long as it doesn't die. Quest with Snow White, return Happy to your hand, replay Happy. That's cool. Again here, Sneezy, when you play this character, chosen character gets +1 lore this turn. Again, that's a lot of tempo that you'd be losing to rebounce this every turn, but technically possible. Doc, when you play this character, if you have another 7 dwarf or a princess in play, draw a card. So you get a card on both sides of Doc. Again, that might be too tempo-y. Bashful is an evasive 2 quester. Dopey can't sing songs. And once during your turn, whenever you play a song, this character gains a lore. And Grumpy. So like, in terms of these, probably like Sneezy and Happy are the ones you're most likely to want to be bouncing just to not be tempoed out. But that's some cool stuff. And then again, obviously there's a bunch of other 7 dwarves, including the Steel Dock, that are insane. And so, but yeah, I also think very strong just that when this card is banished in your opponent's turn, or banished in a challenge, you can return her to your hand. Like, that's a lot. Again, tempo matters a lot in Lorcana, so you don't necessarily just want to be replaying a card, but if you can get one good bounce out of Snow White, one good quest, and then she gets banished, and then you can replay her or ink her to then further your plans the next turn. That's pretty cool. Another Ednamone, fashion designer, 2/2, 3-drop inkable quests for 2. When you play this character, you can turn chosen item cost 2 or less to its player's hand. If you do, its player draws a card. So cool with the super suit, right? Because the super suit drew a card or gained a lore if you had a hero, one of those. Then whenever this character quests, your supers get +1 lore this turn. Very interesting in that regard. Yeah, just those way of keep like rebuying your items. You can then replay them. Yeah, cool. Fun with Blurple, let me tell you. Infinity Blurple with those popsicles. Probably doesn't make the cut because 3-drops are so weird for that deck, but like that's pretty cool. And then Peppa Madrigal, 3-drop uninkable 3/4. And when you play this character, deal 1 damage to each of your other characters. And then once during your turn, you can remove, whenever you remove 1 or more damage from a character, draw a card. The Madrigals have a lot of this remove damage synergy in this set. And so, doesn't seem insane that you would be able to play Peppa, deal damage to things, and then immediately move that damage or get rid of it in some way. Also, we'll see her in the 5-drops, but it's pretty cool with Louisa. Who cares about the amount of damage on her for her ability? And so, yeah, very interested in what that's going to look like. This ability to draw an extra card as you're doing what your deck wants to do is very powerful. And some of the damage-based decks can run into problems where they actually have issues dealing damage because you need to deal damage in a way that has your character survive. And so the fact that Peppa has 4 willpower and puts 1 damage on stuff on her own is pretty cool. Obviously works great in pairs also because then you can be drawing 2 cards, 1 card for each Peppa. Next up, we got Lenny, probably the toy I'm most excited about. Lenny Toy Binoculars, 0/2, 3-drop inkable. When you play this character, chosen opponent reveals their hand and discards an action card of your choice. And then coming up fast, once during your turn, whenever you play an action, you can ready this character. So I really like Lenny, because like I said earlier, I've been playing with the Emerald Steel discard lists for Infinity. And Lenny's pretty cool there as another discard option. Hits all actions, not just songs like Ursula. Since we don't have Mowgli in that deck and don't have Bare Necessities in that deck. And so having another way of just hitting general actions could be very strong. If Sapphire Ruby is still a big deal, you would have Ursula to hit Be Prepared, but then Lenny hits Brawl. There we go. I was on Dragonfire and that wasn't the card. So like that's pretty cool. This is like a big effect, or Lenny is expensive for that effect as just an O2. But then like the fact that you can quest with Lenny, sing a song with someone, ready Lenny, and quest again, like if you squint and your hand pans out right, Lenny is kind of a 2-quester. So I want to definitely try it out. It'll probably only be a 1 or 2 of. I also like that you can see Buzz flying in Lenny's binoculars. Speaking of Buzz, we got our rare Buzz Lightyear on the way, 3-drop inkable 4/2. Whenever you pay 2 or less to play a non-character, draw a card, then choose and discard a card. This kind of works similar to what we were saying with Mulan for that shift deck, where this gives you an out to have a easy way to discard that's on plan, and then you could then use that discard as a payoff for Metamorphosis. And so then whenever you pay 2 or less to play a character, deal 1 damage to chosen opposing damaged character. So Buzz adds more damage to characters that are already damaged. Notably, this is deal, so resist does stop this. You're not putting a damage, you're dealing a damage. So next up, we got Kita. Like I said, I was surprised to see Atlantis in this set, but I'm happy it's here. Kita, 3-drop, 3/4, quests for 1. Whenever this character quests, if 2 or more cards are put in your discard this turn, you can put the top card of your deck into your Inkwell face down and exerted. Sapphire has a lot of these 3-drop situational put a card in your Inkwell if you've done something. Like I think we had Kristoff in Whispers, that was like if they were boosted and quested, you did this. This one is if 2 cards have been put in your discard. Like, you need a way of putting cards in your discard for this that are not just losing your character in a challenge. But there's some cool synergy pieces here. And then like this is not like ramp in the way of going 3 to 4. Most likely, this is ramp in terms of going from like 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 on like a later turn. And of course, because this character has the quest, so it's not like you don't get that ink immediately like you would with Mickey Mouse Detective. And so, but it's an interesting card in that regard. You really need your turn 4 to have a way of putting cards in your discard that doesn't cost you 2 cards in play. Next up, Ursula Dealmaker, another legendary 3-drop 2/4, quests for 1. When you play this character and whenever she quests, another chosen character gets +1 lore this turn. Quite the bargain. And then at the end of your turn, if this character is exerted, put chosen character of yours in your inkwell face down and exerted. I think that's pretty cool. Basically gives you, again, another interesting 3-drop ramp. That like you could play her, quest with your 2-drop with an extra lore. Then the next turn you quest with Ursula, give that character an extra lore, quest again, and then you ink that card. It could be cool. Again, I've said this for a handful of other cards. Big tempo play though. Like, you can be losing a lot to do that, and then it also only cares about if Ursula is exerted. It's not put like a chosen exerted character of yours. So like, you could find yourself in a situation where like you can't quest with Ursula because you only have like characters that are still drying, and so then you just can't do anything with her. You have to play defensive at that point, so that way you don't lose. But I guess that works the other way too, where like you could quest with her so that you ink, turn that character that you played into an ink as a way of like kind of playing 2 ink a turn. Interesting with Chicha, that cares about you inking a second time. Yeah. Next up, Ranger Plane. Your characters gain support, and then exert chosen character with 10 strength or more gets +3 lore. So this is Alice, but now as an item. It's interesting, like having this just as a way of boosting up your characters in a way that doesn't put them in, or doesn't put your big card in danger. Because like Alice wanted everyone to support onto her so that she had enough strength. Whereas this doesn't really care where you put it, nor do you technically need to be a character that you have supported. And so if you can just have a way of support a character once, like, and they get big enough, like, that's pretty cool. Next, the Island of Nomancian. 3-drop, 1 to move, 6 willpower, 1 lore. Robot characters get +1 strength and +1 willpower here. Once during your turn, whenever a character banishes another character in a challenge, while here you may deal 2 damage to chosen character. So you kind of get to chain your challenge in a way, kind of similar to Mulan. Where you get to deal damage and then bounce that damage somewhere else. Or Big Tink is also an example of this. Obviously wants you to play with your robots, but yeah, this is pretty cool. Also, it's kind of fun with the aliens. Oh no, because are they robots and toys? No, they're just toys. But you don't necessarily need that top effect, but like if you put one of the aliens here, they were just big, then you could go and challenge with them, take something out, deal 2 damage to take out something else. And then of course, like, your character doesn't have to be banished in this challenge for this effect, but that's pretty cool. We got what might be the first of our cycle of Traveler cards, an Aerial Curious Traveler. This is one of Deanna's favorite cards of the set for this art. 4-drop 3/3, quest for 2. When this character quests, if you played another character this turn, chosen opposing character can't challenge and must quest during their turn if able. So the reverse reckless. We don't have a name for this yet, but I think all of the Traveler cards have this style effect of like when they quest, if you played a character blank. It's pretty cool. I do like this as a mechanic. And then like the fact that this is protection in the sense similar to Pocahontas, where like, yeah, you now can't challenge into me, so now you need another way of stopping my stuff, and most likely I'm going to play a character next turn, and I'm going to then still prevent that character from challenging into me. Like, that's pretty cool. Also, obviously, it makes them exert their character in the same way that Reckless does, and sometimes that's really what you need, because then it just lets you take out a problematic character that they've been holding up. So, next, Dale, my boy. Dale is number 1. Chip sucks. 4-drop 0/4. That's such little strength and so much willpower. Dale quests for 2, and then during challenges, your characters deal damage equal to their willpower instead of their strength. So this does a lot. I had misread this initially, and I thought it was during your challenges instead of during challenges your. And so I thought this was only an offensive card, but the fact that this works on defense is pretty crazy. See all the previous comments about the 4 willpower stuff for Monterey Jack with Daisy, but like the fact that this now makes Daisy a 4/4 when it comes to challenging makes it even harder to get rid of her. Dale quests for 2. We've talked about this before, but like if your character quests for 2, like that's usually a great place to be. And like is inkable, like this is pretty cool. Obviously, like, oh, y'all can't see the price because it's behind me, but like currently sitting at $45 compared to like Ursula's 10. And then what was our other? Oh, Snow White doesn't have one on there, but yeah, like Dale has definitely had a lot of hype behind him, and I could definitely see this being one of the major cards of this set, just because it makes a lot of cards with high willpower want to be questing, and so the fact that this just protects your characters while they quest and make it more complicated is really good. And then obviously combines really well with the bodyguards. Legality. Have bodyguard. So someone like David that's kind of fallen out of favor right now, but is like a 1/4 becomes a 4/4. You have the prince as a 0/5 becomes a 5/5. I mean, not really, but for the sake of dealing damage. Raja gets a little bit of a boost there, like Clawhauser, who's a card that I really like that has never really seen play, but like again becomes a 4/4. Makes Minnie as an 8/8, makes Mrs. Beakley a 6/6 instead of a 2/6. Like Chief is the one that's been seen play right now in this slot, just because they're so strong. And then going back to one of our OGs with Pluto, it now makes it so Pluto deals 5 damage both before and after taking damage, which is pretty great. So yeah, lots of crazy options there. There's been a little bit of this Thunderbolt deck running around the local metas. And so, I mean, it works with that. Like, you can play Thunderbolt. You can then play, like, shift it. And then you can play Dale on the next turn. And you now have this 7/7. Like, sure. Lots of stuff. Lots of options. Next, we got Mickey Mouse 2/3. Quests for 2. It's 4-drop inkable. This character may interplay exerted. When this character is exerted, whenever one of your character's quests, chosen opposing character gets -2 strength until the start of your next turn. So you could play Mickey exerted on 4, quest with 2 or 3 characters, and just shrink your opponents down. This also sets you up for an Under the Sea in Dogs right now, which is pretty strong. Some of those decks do run, I think it's Scrump or something like that, where you can exert your characters to reduce some character strength. And so, like, the fact that this is also just on a 2-quester is very good, and gives you some character synergies there. You definitely have to be cautious of how many high-cost characters you're playing in an aggressive deck, but Like, I don't, like, if you had to choose between Mickey and Dale, I don't necessarily know if you'll be playing both of them as your top end of your, like, non-shiftable characters, but it makes it insane. Like, how do you battle through if they just have taken out so much of your strength? Next up, Dashpar, the reddest character to ever live, but they're Amethyst. 4-drop, uninkable, 3/2 with Rush, and then this character can quest the turn that he's played. So not only does he have Rush so he can challenge, but basically has Rush for questing as well. Very cool. I've been potentially eyeing this card from my core deck, playing Blurple. We'll see. The 2 willpower is definitely a problem, and I don't necessarily know if that deck wants more uninkables, but this does come and, like, snipe a lot of the dogs. The big problem is that it doesn't snipe Daisy. And then obviously you can also just play them, quest, and gain 2. And, like, this kind of gets you the Goat Fox Goat on one character where, like, if you're playing the Amethyst Emerald, like lore deck, burn deck, like, this is just another top end card that gets you 2 lore. So I like Dash a lot. Next, Ring of Stones, 4 inkable, 3 to move, 7 willpower, 1 lore. Your exerted characters can move here for free. Once during your turn, whenever a character moves here, gain a lore. So very strong if you have multiple of these. You can get multiple in play of just, like, sniping some extra lore. Just moving one exerted character between, like, 3 of these is very fun. Probably not good enough, but it's very fun. Yeah, the fact that, like, again, just an easy move is very cool. Next, Eleanor, 3/4, 4-drop, uninkable, quest for 1. At the end of your turn, if you have 3 or more exerted characters in play, deal 1 damage to chosen opposing character, gain 1 lore, and draw a card. I like her. 3 or more exerted characters. So she doesn't have to be one of the exerted characters. So you could play her on 4, quest with your 1-drop, your 2-drop, and your 3-drop, gain a bunch of lore, deal a damage, draw a card. Also, they just had to be exerted, so you could challenge with them, and then you could use her damage to finish something off. That's pretty cool. It can be win more, because, like, if you have 3 exerted characters in play consistently enough to get this effect, like, 2 or 3 times, you probably should be winning the game. But some interesting stuff there. If she was inkable, I would probably test her in Emerald Steel, just for another way of, like, that deck has so many songs that this just gives you another way of drawing a card. And then just dealing some damage as you, like, exert your characters to get rid of your opponent's stuff. So that definitely is a possibility. Next up, the Queen, Devious Disguise. 4 inkable, 5/3. When you play this character, you may draw a card. If you do, each opponent gains 2 lore. Your opponent has more lore than you. This character quests for 2 more. Like, obviously you don't have to give them the card, so that you don't have to give them or you don't have to get the card, so you don't have to give them the lore. I feel like you should probably almost never be evil scheming, and you should probably, the majority of the time, just assume that, like, if you're in a situation where this card is good, like an Emerald-based control deck, like, they're going to just have more lore than you, and you can get 3 to 4 quests out of this while keeping them in check. And so, yeah, I feel like the evil scheme is probably something you shouldn't do the majority of the time, since the card wants you to be behind. That's an interesting out. Next up, the Claw. 4 uninkable item. Exert, pay 2, banish 1 of your characters, return chosen opposing characters to their player's hand. Really wish this was to play. Or, like, didn't have that ink cost for the ability. Like, the fact that this is 6 ink and a character means you probably can't play the character that you get back. And so that's a struggle. As we just immediately move on. Next up, Babyhead, leader of Sid Toys. For an inkable 3/3, when you pay 2 or less to play a card, chosen character gets +2 strength until end of turn. Oh, 2 strength this turn. So kind of the inverse of Mickey here. And then during your turn, whenever one of your other characters is banished, draw a card. There's another, I think it's a Whispers card that has a similar effect of like when a character is banished during your turn, draw a card. And so you can also boost an opponent's character and then take them out with something like World's Greatest Criminal Mind. Kind of like the support tricks with that top ability. Next up, Jack Par for inkable 4/4. At the start of your turn, you may put the top card of your deck into your discard. If its card type is character, this character gets +2 strength this turn. Action or item, this character gets +2 lore this turn. Location, banish chosen character. The balancing of this card with, you're going to most likely have the most characters in your deck of any card type. So the fact that like you're most likely going to have a 6/4 on your turn, and that is definitely the weakest mode of this card, is something. But then like if you can get that upside of action or item, or even location, of course, but like you can get some good stuff. I mean, I would assume you want action or item the majority of the time, but that's going to definitely be a challenge to get going. Next up, Queen of Hearts, Impatient Traveler. For inkable 4/2. When this character quests, if you played another character this turn, chosen character gains rush this turn. That's pretty cool. So like, she lets you give rush to the character you just played to trigger her effect. Like, that's pretty fun. This gives a lot of sniping range. She does only have 2 willpower, so she will be easy to take out. And obviously that's pretty telegraphed that that's coming, but I do think that there's some cool strength to that. Vincenzo Santorini, on the run, 4/2, another 4/2, another quest for 2 on a 4-drop inkable. Evasive, opposing items can't ready at the start of their player's turn. A lot of the best items don't need to ready. So like this feels like it's a card that's teched for something that doesn't really happen that much. Like Emerald Chromicon, the Sapphire Coil, which like was in the previous meta, saw a lot of play. A lot of the really good items just don't exert. So that definitely is interesting, but it is a good tech piece, good thing for us to have should that ever become an issue in the meta. Like that's a cool way of like players shifting, or being able to adjust for the meta. Next up, for uninkable 1 to move for willpower. When this location is banished, each opponent chooses and banishes one of their characters. So I like that. It encourages them to try to take it out. It gets you a good chunk of lore. And then there's not a ton of ways of banishing a location without using a character or like having a character in play. So like obviously they could just play a character they don't care about, banish that one after they take this out. But this does the good thing of like, if you don't have to defend this, because if they want to stop you from gaining the lore and devote resources to that, you at least get something back from it. Next up, Gadget, Hack Wrench. For an inkable 1/5. When you play this character, you may put an item cost 3 or less. You may play an item with cost 3 or less for free. Then your characters with support get +1 lore. So obviously works great with the Rescue Ranger plane, because that is an item with cost 3 or less, and that gives all of your characters support. So now they also quest for 1 more. So that is definitely a cool thing there. It's a lot of pieces that you got to get going, but because like you need characters that are worth questing with. You need the plane and you need support, and you need a payoff for support, but it's not insane. Next up, we got Zippa, 4 inkable 0/6 shift 2, which is pretty crazy. Quests for 2. Whenever this character quests, you can add his willpower to chosen character's strength this turn. Very fun take on support. Obviously works great if you are either supporting Zipper with other cards or using Zipper to like kind of start your support chain. This just gives you a big boost right away. And then like if Zipper had strength from another support, he would add his 6 willpower and whatever his strength was to that card, which is pretty strong. Next up, Cinderella, Resourceful Traveler. 4 inkable 1/4. When this character quests, if you played another character this turn, you can put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. This feels way easier than the Kita that we looked at. Like, granted, it is more ink and it is more, but it is more lore as well, right? Kita is just 1 lore, yeah. So like that effect is so much easier to trigger that like you could probably end up in situations where Kita isn't able to ramp you extra lore just because it's hard to put 2 cards in your discard. Whereas Cinderella, like, you naturally want to be playing characters anyway. And so Cinderella does that. Obviously, as a princess and partners very well with the other 4-drop Cinderella. So then that just gives you a ton of ink possibilities. So that's pretty cool. Next, Pocahontas, Steadfast Traveler, 4/5, 4 inkable. When this character quests, if you played another character this turn, return a location from your discard to your hand. It feels like the most situational of the travelers that we've looked at, but in the situations where Pocahontas is good, like that is very good. Ideally, you want to be in a spot where you can play a character, quest Pocahontas, and then play that location. But if you can pull all of that off, that is pretty fun. Next up, the Fat Cat. Criminal Businessman, 3/4 for a 4-drop inkable. Your locations have resist 1 and he quests for 2. This is kind of what I was referencing earlier. You need a character that protects your locations. And so like, which one was it? Was it Pizza Planet? Yeah. So like here, so that gives them an incentive where it's like, well, this, like, they can't go for the location, they more need to go for the characters, but then they'll lose a lore. Like, it gives you something just as a deterrent for them to take out the location. Probably not enough of a deterrent, but it is interesting. Next, we got our legendary Woody Jungle Guide, 1/5, 5-drop, uninkable with shift 3, quests for 2. When this character quests, draw a card, then you can play a character with cost 2 or less for free. Obviously, we got a lot of 2 or less synergy going on amongst the toys, so that's very cool. And your other toys get +1 willpower. Yeah, so like the fact that this can kind of become a 3-drop lady and then holds that effect for every turn on a questing character, on quest, I mean, is very strong. So like there is the 1-drop Woody in this set, so you do have a place to start out with for this shift. I don't think is there another Woody? Oh, there's also a 4-drop Woody. But you probably are not playing that as a shift target. You're probably just playing this 1-drop Woody. But that's definitely something that's very cool. And the fact that, like, obviously everyone gather around is toy-based, but the top effect, let's get moving, is not. Like, it doesn't care what kind of character you play. It just cares that it costs 2 or less. Next up, Mrs. Incredible, super stretchy. 5 inkable, 5/6. At the start of your turn, choose 1. This character gains evasive until the start of your next turn, or this character gains +1 lore. Some cool value there. And so you either have this ability to make like either very strong defensive card with the evasive, or you have the ability to just gain some lore. That's a lot for a 5-drop. Your 5-drops really need to do a lot for you, but that is something. Obviously can work with Dumbo, since you can just give her evasive. Next, Maleficent Imperious Traveler. 5 inkable 3/5 quests for 2. When this character quests, if you played another character this turn, you can exert chosen opposing character. So it gets you the Elsa, the Isis Vanderchill style effects. Is pretty cool with the Queen Traveler card that gives something reckless. That was a traveler, right? Yeah, impatient traveler. So like you can if you have both of these in play another character, quest with Maleficent, exert something, quest with the Queen, give reckless to the card you just played, and then we're winning more at that point. But like it gives you the ability to pretty consistently be taking out some of your opponent's stuff, and it gives you some good play around potential of like a lot of the slower decks. You get into the situation where as long as you can answer everything that they keep playing, you can win. This gives you another way of doing that. And so that is definitely something that can be powerful of like, but you need another character. And then, yeah. Next, Mordu, Savage Cursed Prince. 8/8 on a 5-drop inkable. Quest for 3. When you play this character, exert all characters not named Mordu. And then your characters not named Mordu can't ready at the start of your turn. That's a really hefty price for a 3/3, or for a 3 quester. Now, potential control shell type situation where you don't really care about your other characters, maybe, but just feels like Lorcana doesn't work the same way Magic does, where if you're playing a control deck, you can just rely on your creatures at the end of the game to get you there. Like, songs are just so powerful that you really need characters in play to sing them. Like, you just need other ways of doing stuff, and only having Mordu to do that just feels like a lot. If that Ferocious Roar was when you play this character, exert all characters not named Mordu, not all your characters, and this was just a big way of like exerting everything, like that could be something. But as it is, it feels like you're just giving up too much to just have a single character that can do stuff. Yeah. Next up, Alma Madrigal, Keeper of the Flame. 2/6 5-drop inkable, shift 3, quests for 2. When you remove 1 or more damage from one of your characters, you can exert chosen opposing character. Let's rock and roll. This is my kind of synergy piece. Also right next to Louisa, who we'll talk about immediately after this because I'm hyped for that card. But like, if you heal, you exert one of your things, which then lets you challenge that thing, which then gets you more damage, that then lets you heal to then like, man, that's some fun synergy. And then whenever you move 1 or more damage, yeah, it's not once per turn. So if you're healing like ones at a time, you just get to keep exerting a bunch of different things. Very cool. Next up, Louisa Madrigal, as we talk about that effect. 5 inkable, 6/4, shift 3. And then you can pay 1 ink, move 1 damage from chosen character of yours to this character. Then if this character has 3 or more damage, move all damage from this character to chosen opposing character. So obviously works great with Alma, because you just get the 1 heal at a time. 1 heal for an ink, which then just lets you exert something. And then once Louisa has enough damage, you can move all of that damage somewhere, take something out, and then exert something else that Louisa could then go and challenge because she's now healed. Again, I like this. This is my kind of blurble going on. And so I have some really fun pieces. What is the Alma, what are we doing? Alma Madrigal. So our set 12 Alma is a 3-drop. Oh, and then we also got this. We got Young Alma. When you play this character, if you have another Madrigal in play, you can exert chosen opposing character. Okay. So, like, play this, then you can shift the 3 on top of it. Like, that's pretty cool. And then Louisa, wow, spelling. Louisa, whereas our set 12 is a 1-drop with Challenger 2. I really like this Louisa as well. It's kind of like an inverse of Rafiki, where like Rafiki is a 0-2 that gets Challenger 3. Louisa is a 0-3 that gets Challenger 2. So hits less hard, but has the ability to stay around much longer. And so you can get into situations where Rafiki attacks something, gets 1 damage on them, and then it's so easy for your opponent to just take them out. Louisa at least asks a little bit more than that. With getting 2 damage, you can't so easily throw something at her to get rid of her. And then her having a couple damage to start with, like if you can get 2 damage on Louisa and then shift to the big Louisa and on the next turn, and then immediately activate the effect and heal, that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. Next up, Don't Be Nervous. Search your deck for a 5-drop inkable action, notably not a song. Search your deck for a princess card, reveal it to all players, and put it in your hand, then shuffle your deck. Ducky McWax, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. Hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. If you're a Lorcana player, what are your favorite cards? What are you excited about for Wilds Unknown? Favorite Disney character, all of that jazz. And then if there's a IP you would like to see come to Lorcana, let me know what that is. Or an IP you'd like to see more of in Lorcana. So this search is for a princess. And then puts it in your hand, shuffles. And then if you have 2 or more 7 dwarfs, draw 2, gain 2. That's a lot for a non-song. Like just to have that on an action, it requires like having to have 2 7 dwarves is definitely a lot, and you have to use turn 5 to do this. That's definitely choices that can be made there. And yeah, I feel like too expensive to do much, but cool for a theme deck. And Ducky, I should say my name is Cameron. This is Cameron+Deanna. My wife and I stream here. We do a variety of games. Of late, we've been chatting a lot of Lorcana. And so started testing out the new set with Amber Sapphire, Casa Madrigal. Nice. Ended up going back to Blurple. Blurple's got a couple nice new cards. I agree. I'm a Blurple player for core as well. And so there's some stuff that I'm very excited about. IP you want to see is The Nightmare Before Christmas. Let's go. I think that'd be super cool. Make the Hot Topic fans happy. And then I feel like that would sell gangbusters. I'm shocked that like in Whispers, we did not get Nightmare Before Christmas, and instead we got the Headless Horseman stuff. But maybe that means that they're saving Nightmare Before Christmas for this year. It would make sense. It would be super fun. I would love to see it. Next up, we got Merida. So excited. I love this art as well. This 5-drop inkable 3/5 quests for 2. When this character is exerted, or shift 3, and then when this character is exerted, whenever an opposing character challenges, you may deal 1 damage to the challenging character. So, I think this is pretty cool. Like the fact that this just pings all of your opponent's stuff. Like, again, it's just another way of making it hard for them to interact with your characters. Is super fun with Chip. Or not with Chip. Nothing's fun with Chip. Is very fun with Dale. Making her a 6/6. Where like you can shift her on 3, play Dale on the next turn. In this like Emerald Amber like aggressive deck, make it hard for them in the quest. And I should say, Ducky, what Blurple cards are you excited for? Next we got Mr. Incredible Super Strong is one of our legendaries. 5 inkable 6/4 shift 3. Quest for 1. When this character gets 2 strength for each other character you have in play, then one of your super characters challenges another character, draw a card. So at his base, when this character challenges, draw a card. And then if you have multiple supers, you can draw multiple cards. I think that's super strong. Like just having a way of keeping the cards flowing, even if you're not playing other supers. I think that's super good. See, new cards for Blurple. Your side Mrs. Incredible, 4-drop Merryweather, and what else can you do? What else? Yes, I've been there. It's all good. Typing is difficult. I say as I have misspelled so much, even just on this stream. I am excited for Fauna. What is the 4-drop Merryweather? Oh, yes. This card's very cool. Yeah, Fauna replacing Basil is also something that's interesting. I don't think this will come up. Yeah, because this is Fauna is super cool because it gives you another name, and names are so important in Lorcana. So, like, we don't really have other Faunas, but this now just gives like another tool that if we ever get a cool shift, you now have that choice of like Basil versus Fauna. And so that's a lot of really cool options. And then Merryweather curves very well into Elsa for sure. And then if you open Basil/Fauna, ramp onto Merryweather, and then Elsa, you can take out pretty much anything else on the board. Yeah, there's a lot of options there. And then Elsa can sing "What Else Can I Do?" Yeah, we'll get to "What Else Can I Do." I have some thoughts because I'm super interested in this card. Next up, 5-drop Flora. When you play this character, your other characters gain +1 resist until the start of your next turn. Cool. Probably not strong enough. Funny because this, I think on paper, reads like it should be the strongest of the fairies, but is probably going to be the least played. Merryweather and Fauna are probably just going to see way more play. Then Bruno, 5 Inkable for 5, quest for 1. Once during your turn, whenever you move damage from one of your characters, you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in your hand, the other on the bottom. And then whenever this character quests, you can remove all damage from chosen character. Again, this is my kind of card. Is this great? It's probably too slow. But like the fact that like you can use Bruno to heal your own stuff and then get a card out of that. That's pretty fun. I'm on board. Again, probably too slow. Next, what else can I do? Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Put one in your hand and the other in your inkwell face down. So it's how far I'll go. And then if a character sang this song, your characters gain ward until the start of your next turn. And then it's a 5-drop uninkable song. I'm super curious about this card because I'm curious if the ward is going to be worth it. Like, I feel like a lot of times, like, because in Lorcana you play to the board so much that having ward isn't as strong as even something like, hey, you just can't play actions. And so I guess you need to get in a situation where like you're questing out and then the song that they need to play to get rid of your stuff, or the action that they need to play to get rid of your stuff, doesn't choose. It's balanced how far I'll go. I'll definitely agree with that take. I think how far I'll go was definitely a bit too good at 4. At 4 it could be sung by too many things. My worry here is it's not going to be able to be sung by enough things to warrant that extra cost. And then because like how far I'll go was not an unreasonable play to just spend 4 ink on. Whereas like spending 5 ink for this just feels like it would be miserable. And then, I just don't know if the ward is enough of a payoff there. I'll definitely be trying this out in my Blurple deck. As Ducky says, Elsa and 5-drop Hades are good singers for it, for sure. Like, there's definitely a lot of really good options there. And we're getting good stuff in our in this current set that could be good 5-drops for this. Like, while we haven't necessarily seen any specific singers, like, if your deck wants to go the route of Luisa or Alma, like, this does give you the ability to sing this song earlier as well, or have lore left over, or have ink left over after you shift them to then do something else with that turn also. And so there's definitely some interesting play patterns there. And then I do like how far I'll go with your bigger willpower characters, because then it takes them more challenges to go through them. Whereas if you're not, like, if you're just protecting a lot of weaker characters, the board just isn't necessarily as strong. Mrs. Incredible's very strong as well, solid as well. She's another 5-drop, has some nice versatility. Is this the one that we just looked at? Incredible. Or is there another? Yes, we did look at this one. Yeah, I think this is interesting. Very, like, the balance of having extra lore or having an evasive is definitely either interesting. Can either give her evasive to take out an opposing protector or make her another character. Yeah, I think the fact that she's a 5/3 for some, like she's just big, I think is crazy good. And just, like, she's not, like, understated by any means, but, like, or I should say she's not really, like, overstated. Maybe that's the way to say it. But, like, just being that big, I think, is such a strong place to be with that versatility. Next up, Escape Plan. 5 uninkable action. When you play this action, you can't play this action unless 2 or more cards are put in your discard this turn. Each player chooses 2 of their characters, puts them in their inkwell face down, and exerted. Kind of like a mini board wipe. This obviously gets around Ward. For you, what else can I do, enjoyers? Since the players choose. But that feels like super fun of, like, oh, you're going to ramp me. Obviously, you can make this asymmetrical based on how you're playing your deck, of either if you have no characters in play, you're just removing theirs, or if they have no characters in play, you're just ramping yourself. So there's some interesting play patterns there that you can do. Probably too expensive on a, like, I can't, between these 2 5-drop uninkable songs or uninkable actions, like, even ignoring the fact that what else can I do is a song, like, I feel like I would much rather have the ability of, like, getting a card. But obviously Escape Plan does bail you out of some situations if you can get your opponent down to just 2 characters. So don't think the effect is good enough for how hard it is to cast. Yes. Uninkable actions that are not songs are very hard. Blue-red could maybe get away with it, but they have better payoffs. Yes, yeah. Maybe needed with one of the new cards blue-green is playing. Like, it's, I mean, it does hit a lot, like the fact that, like, Spooky Sight is cost, like, limited, whereas this can hit only 2 things. Like, there's some interesting trade-offs there. And then, yeah. It's definitely a challenge in that point. And again, I would kind of be shocked if this sees much play. It just feels like you'd probably rather have Spooky Sight for 1 more ink, and that can hit multiple things, but we'll see. The meta will always be adjusting, and so having a variety of plays that can work with this, and, like, in the style of, like, what big action removal do you want, I think is a very good place for us to be. Next up, Merida, Formidable Archer. Also, call me crazy, this rare Merida art is way cooler than the legendary Merida. The legendary does have an enchanted, of course, or has the iconic, I mean. But, like, I think this art is kind of just basic, and this art is super cool. And then 5 uninkable, 3/5, quest for 2. When you play this character, you can return an action named 3 arrows from your discard to your hand, and then whenever one of your actions deals damage to an opposing character, deal 2 damage to that character. So 3 arrows deals damage to 2 different characters. So deal 2 damage to chosen character, then you may deal 1 damage to another chosen character. So this, with Merida in play, that becomes deal 4 damage and 3 damage for only 3 ink, which is definitely a reasonable cost. 3 arrows is also inkable. And so it does give you that bailout of like, play Merida, just get back your 3 arrows and ink it if you really need to. And then ideally, of course, you have this. It would not fit with Brave, like really, but like it would be great if 3 arrows was a song. And that way you could just dealing more. I don't necessarily know if we want Steel to have more singable, like inkable damage songs besides strength, but that's definitely something that would be interesting. Next, Gizmo Duck. Resist 1, deal and then it's a 5 inkable 5/4. If you have no cards in hand, your opponents can't play actions that cost 4 or more. And then quests for 2. If this card wasn't a 5-drop, I would love this card. Great discard target. Yes. Yeah. We were talking about 1-drop Mulan with some of the cards earlier. And yeah, a great call out for Merida of like, this just gives you a way of turning that discard to an upside instead of having it be a downside. Yeah. Same with like discarding Zombie Lilo. Like anytime that you can turn a discard into an effective, like have an extra card in your hand, super good. But yeah, Gizmo Duck. If it wasn't 5, I would love this. Like just the ability to lock your opponent out of board wipes. Like having 0 cards in hand is a big ask, but like try coming in with the raid. Hope your stream was great, my friend. For people coming over, my name's Cameron. This is Cameron+Deanna. We're chatting Disney Lorcana. Hope y'all are all having a good one. Try What Were You Playing? Hope it was fantastic. I saw when you got back from lunch/brunch, I saw you were live, but didn't get to pop in. So, Crime Scene Cleaner. Nice. Hope that went very well. And then Try is also good hanging out last night, doing book club. And so, hope you had a great rest of your evening. Next, Isabella Madrigal. 6 inkable 4/5, shift 4, quests for 2. When you remove damage from one of your characters, gain a lore for each damage removed. Like, again, this is my kind of card. Like, the more you remove, it's not just like gain 1 lore no matter what. It's lore based on the amount of damage. So, like, this gives you some cool stuff. Also works great with Luisa, since Luisa would like take ideally 3 different damage from 3 different from your other characters to then gain you 3 lore, and then Isabella gives you 3 more when you move that damage to one of your opponent's characters. So like Isabella plus Luisa gets you a total of 6 lore. Like that's pretty cool. You need a lot of things to happen for that to work. Just in terms of like the amount of ink that you need and stuff like that. Locke, how's it going? Hope you're having a great day. I hope Marvel Rivals went well Friday night. Sorry I could not pop in. I was playing Saros. And Saros has the ambiance is taken away from if I'm like multitasking, like listening to something. And so sorry I could not pop in. Next, Frozone. 6 uninkable 6/4 with rush. When you play this character, if you have another super character in play, you can exert chosen opposing character. Really good. I mean, it's kind of like Maui at home, but the fact that like this exerts and then is a big rush. Oh, as Ducky comes in, yeah, Frozone could potentially be a replacement for Elsa post rotation. Nowhere near as good, but if Blurple runs some of the supers, it could work. Not evasive is going to be a huge knock. We'll see what that looks like, because there's a lot of like what I'll say are really good evasive characters that are just not good enough compared to Genie and Elsa. Like those cards are just so good. And so We'll see what the evasive package looks like post rotation. And then obviously this works great with Mrs. Incredible, where I'm like Mrs. Incredible on 5. On your 6 ink turn, she can gain evasive. You can play Frozone, exert something. Mrs. Incredible goes into the evasive thing. Frozone goes into an exerted non-evasive thing. Like, definitely some cool stuff there. 6-drop Uninkable is a lot, but the bailout of Frozone quests for 2 is also very strong. How's Saros so far? It looks so good. Was playing 4-loop. Ooh, what'd you think of 4-loop? Not sure you're sold on it, honestly. I've not tried it yet. I appreciate Chunk getting us invites, but I have not had a chance to do it. I'm really liking Saros. And so I think Saros is very fun. I'm very much enjoying it. I'm like 8 hours in. And it's been super cool to see. Or super cool to see them, how they kind of developed it. It definitely feels like Returnal for people that played Returnal. And then don't want to give away too many spoilers. I like it feels like you're getting more out of your runs because there's like a skill tree. And so you can go and do a longer run. Even if you die, you can gain like stuff for that skill tree, which I think is very nice compared to Returnal. And so Feeling Ramp is going to be on 3 instead of 2. Yes. Yeah, we will still have 1 jump ahead, but assuming that we don't get another 2-drop, and obviously 1 jump ahead does not remotely compare to Tipo and Sail. Yeah, I think like we'll have 3-drop Mickey. We looked at some cards earlier that ramp in various ways. We have Kristoff. Like, there's a lot of decent 3-drop options. And so, yeah, I think Blurple or the Sapphire X decks will go from caring about 4-drops to caring about 5-drops. So, something like Fauna on 1, something else, the board on 2, ramp on 3. Yes, I think that Mrs. Incredible on 4, Frozone on 5. I think that's going to be a very reasonable curve for Blurple if Blurple sticks around as like a specific like meta color combo. Next, Corella DeVille, Judgmental Traveler. Potentially our last Traveler. I think we've seen the other ones, but I could be wrong. She's a 6 inkable 4/4 quests for 4. When this character quests, if you played another character this turn, you can banish chosen damaged character. Very strong. It's not hard to have 1 or 2 damage on something, and then the fact that like this lets you keep characters on your board to then get rid of your opponent's stuff. Not going to really compare with like Malicious, Mean, and Scary combo, but like the Prince Phillip combo is losing the 3-drop Prince Phillip with rotation, and so that deck could hypothetically be looking for a different way to do that. I don't necessarily know if this is where that deck would want to go by any means, but like this does give you another option to get rid of damaged things. Helga Sinclair, Prepared for Anything, 5/5, quest for 2. When this character quests, deal 1 damage to chosen opposing character. If 2 or more cards are put in your discard this turn, deal 2 damage instead. Cool. Like, again, an interesting way of like moving your board forward or moving your game plan forward while questing, and then also being able to deal damage and take out some of your opponent's stuff. For the Magic players, like this set really wants like a Stitcher Supplier, just like a 1 ink card that mills 3 cards and puts 3 into your inkwell. Like that would be so cool here, but like, but I like this. This is the style of card that I like, is the let me do my thing and set you back. Next, Lyle. 6 uninkable 6/4, shift 4. When you play this character, put the top 2 cards of your deck in your discard. Then you can return an action with cost 4 or less from your discard to your hand. Notably, that could then be a song. Like, obviously would need to be like a 4-cost song or less. But like, if you could return a song with Lyle and then immediately sing it after shifting, like that's pretty cool. Are the other Lyles good? I don't think so. This one saw some play. What's the set 12? Okay, so we have this one. It's a 2-drop. When you play this character, you can draw a card, then discard a card. So that's one of your cards for something. At the end of your turn, if 2 or more cards are put in your discard, each opponent loses a lore. I mean, that's probably the one that you're playing out of necessity. Yeah. Couldn't it loop Bibbidi in Infinity? Return chosen characters of yours to your hand, then play a cost. Yeah, you would need... Oh, no, yeah. Because it only could sing if it has been shifted. Yeah, so you couldn't just keep singing. But... yeah, because it just goes to your hand. It doesn't... It's not like... Max, where like Max plays the card when he quests. This one just gets you the card back into your hand. So yeah, you would have to have, like, you could play Lyle, Bibbidi, or get Bibbidi back, sing Bibbidi, put Lyle in your hand, replay him, and to get something back from your discard, but you're not getting anywhere with that. Other than, like, I mean, you're readying Lyle, which is a good defensive measure, but... Bouncing Duck. For each toy character in your discard, you can pay 1 less to play him, or play this character. And then when you play this character, put all toys from your discard on the bottom of your deck in any order. Granted, we're only looking at rares and above, but I feel like we haven't really seen stuff that cares about toys leaving your discard. Like, it's kind of a small Chernabog, which is something. But then I do like that this only takes your toys out of your discard and puts them on the bottom. So that way, if you have other stuff, whereas I think Chernabog worked off of all characters and then put all characters onto the bottom of your deck. This would theoretically let you leave some stuff if you had other characters that you wanted to stick around. So that's interesting. I mean, if you can get to a point where you can play this for like 2, like this card doesn't need to be free. But if you can play them for 2 and then that works with your cost 2 or less toy stuff, like, that's pretty cool. Next, Sid, Toy Surgeon. One of our Ruby legendaries. 6 uninkable 5/5. When you play this character, you can banish another chosen characters of yours. If you do, each opponent chooses and banishes one of their characters. Again, gets around ward. But you need to be in a situation where you have a fodder character and they don't. And then during your turn, whenever a toy character is banished, gain 2 lore. I do like that second ability works off of challenges. Like, it's not just from playtime's over. And so you could get into a situation where, like, yeah, you have Sid in play, you then challenge with a toy, and then you gain that lore. 6-drop uninkable is a lot, though. Next, another Isabella Madrigal. Perfectly in control. 3/6 6-drop inkable. Quests for 3. When you play this character and whenever she quests, you may move all damage from chosen character of yours to this character. At the end of the turn, you can remove all characters or all damage from this character. So works great with the other Isabella, where you gain damage or gain lore for each damage removed. So you can move the damage to this Isabella, and then you can then get it again when she's healed. Again, that's a lot. But at least you get that feel better on play as well. So you are kind of guaranteed at least one healing of something. So that's cool. Syndrome, one of my favorite cards from this set. 6 inkable 4/6 with shift 4 quests for 2. Whenever this character quests, return a robot character from your discard to your hand. Then you can play or shift a robot with cost 8 or less for free. This being play or shift is super fun. Obviously, we have the Omnidroid right next to it as like the poster child of this. But like the fact that like this just lets you get such a big like robot into play so fast is super good. I mean, like if you can like on turn 4 shift this in quest and just put Omnidroid into play, you just get effectively 6 free ink. And so that is definitely really cool. I like that a lot. And it's just a cool way of going big. You obviously need some other payoff, but like I feel like there's going to be some amount of time where going big gets you there. Next up, Omnidroid, 6 inkable, 6/6, quest for 2, shift 4. While there's a card under this character, it gets resist 2. Very fun with the winter spell Scrooge that puts a card under everything and then gives them ward for the turn. A little fun piece of synergy there as like another way of getting a card under Omnidroid. But I like this. It's a fun combo of like working these together. Next we got Fergus, 6 inkable, 4/6, quest for 2. During your turn, whenever this character becomes exerted, you can play a location from your hand or discard that costs 4 or less for free. And then while this character is at a location, whenever a location is challenged and banished, you can deal 4 damage to chosen character. Cool. A very good piece of location protection. It's interesting that like the top ability isn't like that leaves it open for Fergus to quest or to challenge. He just has to become exerted in some way. Like you can even sing, and then you can play a location for free. I like that a lot. Isn't there... I feel like I want set. I want winter spell. I think it's Ruby. It's an action. It's not what I'm looking at. Or looking for. Nope, that's not the vibe, everyone. I thought there was a song in one of these sets that did something with locations. And now I feel like I might be going crazy. Like I thought there was a song that like reduced, like Go to Safety does something with locations, but like I thought there was a song that like reduced the cost of locations. But maybe that's on a character and I'm just going crazy. Was it an Elsa? Oh, yes. Okay, it is this Elsa that I was thinking of. No. Aha. I was correct the whole time. What is this? This is set 11. I'm so confused to why this didn't come up. Or if I just went past it. So look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You can reveal a location and put it in your hand. Put the rest into your discard. You can pay 3 less for the next location you play this turn. So that is what I was thinking of. Okay. So like, this is something where like in Magic this wouldn't work, but for Lorcana it does. So like you use Fergus to sing The Cold Never Bothered Me. Look at the top cards, get a location, put it into your hand. Then just a spot happens and you can then play you can then play the location that you got off of Cold Never Bothered Me. And so as long as it's 4 or less, of course. Or if it's not, you can hold it and then you can pay 3 less for it. And so that's cool. That's an interesting synergy piece. And it gives you another way of like digging for your locations. Ooh, final row. And we got some cool Atlantis cards in this one. Okay, so Milo, 7 inkable 5/5 with ward, quests for 3. When you play this character, you can choose and discard a character to return chosen character to their player's hand. Discard a card, to return chosen character. So he's a bounce effect. So similar to Big Basil in that regard. Then at end of turn, if 2 or more cards were put into your discard this turn, draw a card. So you need one other way to discard or to get something in your discard for Milo to draw a card the turn he's played, and then you have the 2-card problem going forward. I'd be curious about this for Baja, like just because Baja is, of course, the biggest green deck right now in the format in terms of playing big things. And so, yeah, having another way to put something in your discard isn't crazy in that deck because you could like develop. You're not necessarily stuck on having to play this card on 7. You can also get into like Ink Geyser shenanigans as a way of just like having this big card in play, Ink Geyser, and then you have stuff going on. So I'm interested there. Probably won't see play well until the other Baja stuff rotates, but I do like it. And then next, Buzz Lightyear, Jungle Ranger, 7/5, Shift 5, Quests for 2. When you play this character, you can return an action that costs 7 or less from your discard or to your hand. 7 or less is an insane. Like, I get that it's his power, but then like when you play an action, chosen character gains +1 lore this turn. 7 or less makes me immediately think be prepared. But that doesn't necessarily work great with the rest of this card since you want, but it's an interesting bailout. I would be interested with this as another Malicious, Mean, and Scary card. You would just have the ability to like malicious, give stuff lore. You could then like shift, but like you just have so much in play at that point. Like that's a lot. Probably the most obvious home is just like Emerald Steel, like control, using the Steel songs as your way of like taking stuff out. Notably, Buzz can give that lore boost to himself because it's just chosen character gets +1 lore. So you could use some other cards to sing, pump up Buzz, and then quest with Buzz for a lot, which is definitely pretty cool. Yeah. Again, I don't know. I'm curious about this card. I like it a lot. I like, again, having been working on Infinity stuff, I like Emerald Steel as a shell. And so I've been thinking about that. Like, this is really expensive, though. Like, even at a Shift 5, that is a lot. But if you can get some cool stuff, that can definitely be a good payoff. Like, it feels like the payoff's there. Is the stuff to get you there good enough? I guess is really what I'm saying here. Next, Mrs. Incredible. 7, Inkable 5/4, Shift 5. Your characters have resist 1, notably also Mrs. Incredible. And then during your turn, whenever another character is banished in a challenge, you may ready chosen super character. If you do, they can't quest for the rest of the turn. So it gives you another thing to challenge or sing with, or just protect them. So, and then Mrs. Incredible can also do this to herself. So she could quest for 3. You could then challenge with something, ready Mrs. Incredible, and then now she can't be challenged into. Probably not good enough, but like in terms of just protecting her. I think if you can like quest for 3, sing a song with her the second time, like that would be very good. But like the fact that you're having to throw away a character every turn to do that is a lot. But works with the alien loop. Next up, Family Scattered. 8, Uninkable action. Chosen opponent chooses 3 of their characters, returns 1 to their hand, puts 1 on the bottom of the deck, and puts 1 on top of their deck. If you got to choose where these went, I think this card would be gas. Because you could use it as a way of like clearing the 3 most impactful things, and like putting a card on the bottom of someone's deck is effectively removing it for the rest of the game. Like there's such little like practical ways to shuffle in Lorcana that like the odds of you getting to the bottom of your deck and not losing is pretty good, or isn't pretty good. It's pretty rare. And then putting a card on the top of their deck to just make them replay would be very strong. Again, though, like you basically are making them draw a specific card the next turn. Since I've been playing Pete's recently, the Pirate Pete, like I feel like this card would be really cool as a 6-drop song. Definitely feels too good there. But like if you could both choose and could sing this, but like at an 8 cost uninkable, this just feels unplayable to me. Like I don't know why you would play this in the current meta. It's like too slow at 8, and then it doesn't really answer enough things since if your opponent has more than 3 characters, they can just leave their best character in play. So again, feels unplayable to me, but I have been very wrong before. Next up, Kita. A 7/7 on an 8 inkable quest for 2, a shift 6. When you play this character, each player may put up to 5 cards from their discard into their inkwell face down and exerted. And then 7, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one in your hand and the other on the bottom. 7 ink to draw a card is insane. I mean, you can do a lot of interesting ramp here if you have ways of not having your opponent get paid off for that ink. Like your opponent gets that 5 ink first, or up to 5 ink. But like if you have a way of making it so like your opponent doesn't have a lot of cards in their discard and you have more and you can break the symmetry. Like if you can get 5 cards where they only get 2, like that can be a huge boon. Or if you have the ability to get to a place where your opponent has very few cards in hand and they just can't use that ink. So like as a Blurple player, like this is the place that you hope to get to after you've been like Hades, Into the Unknown, Let It Go, like using all of these big songs and big characters that give your opponent ink. You just really want to grind them out and just hope that they never draw the ability to do multiple things in a turn. And so, like, that's a big payoff if you can get there, but I don't know, it feels like a lot of risk for not necessarily a lot of payoff. And then our final rare, super rare, and mythic is the Leviathan, another 10 uninkable 10/10 joining the game. And then when you play this character, if 2 more cards are put in your discard this turn, you can banish any number of chosen opposing characters with total cost or total strength 10 or less. Like, hear me out, but like we're Circle of Life in this, right? Like Circle of Life goes into the discard. That's 1 card. And so like that would be there when Leviathan came in. So you would just need 1 other card and then you can banish like 10 strength of characters. Like if you did that to a dog's deck, like you're hitting a lot of their stuff because a lot of their characters have such low strength. This also notably gets around Dale because Dale doesn't actually change characters like willpower to strength. It just has them deal damage based on their willpower. So like if you can bring this back and hit 6-ish characters, like that doesn't feel unreasonable against dogs that you could do that. Especially because like a lot of the dogs characters that do get power buffs, like Lady, get it only during their own turn. You need a lot to go right. You need Leviathan in your discard. You need Circle of Life. You need like a good way of putting Leviathan in your discard consistently. But there are, like if you can get that payoff, like it is there. This feels like something I'm going to want other people to try and experiment with, and I really hope is good enough, but would be great against, like, with that ward, though, like, using that, using what else can I do to protect your characters so that then they can't be Leviathan on the next turn, and you now have that win in play. Like, yeah, I don't know, obviously it's huge if you can get it in play. Big Mickey has seen a little bit of play, but not necessarily what I would call a lot. But if you can be reasonably able to get this out in a decent amount of time, like, that does feel like something that you could do a lot with if you can get there. But that feels like a lot of ifs, and like, I feel that way for, granted, I'm high on Syndrome and Omnidroid, but like, that feels that way for like a lot of this bottom section of like, big if true, but like, it has to be actually good enough. And then that deck, like, even if it is good enough, it has to be better than the other things you could be doing. Now, granted, like, 4 Circle of Life, 2 Leviathan, like, isn't necessarily a huge deck building cost. But yeah, so it's some cool stuff. So people playing along at home, what are your favorite Wilds Unknown cards? Doesn't have to be a rare, super rare, or mythic. I know I'm really excited to experiment with the Syndrome Omnidroid. I'm excited for Frozone. I'll be picking up my sets of Frozone and Mrs. Incredible. Louisa is my favorite card in the set. I love Louisa in Encanto, and so I'm very excited to play this and partner her, or at least test her with the 1-drop Louisa, and see if that's good enough to get things going. Because I really like the 1-drop Louisa, ramp on 2, shift Louisa on 3, challenge and activate the ability to take something else out. Obviously, a lot needs to go right for that to actually happen, but I do think it's cool. And so I'm probably going to mess around with that some and see if that's actually going to be playable. I also am a known enjoyer of cat math, where both you and your opponent have a Cheshire cat in play, and you have to figure out how to like navigate that matchup. And so I'm excited for Louisa to be joining that party as just like another big character that moves damage. And then like can go into so many different threats. Let's see what else. I really like the Cinderella. Don't know if she'll be good enough. I know some of my teammates are hyped for Zipper, the Zipperdale stuff. Let's see what else. I'm hyped for Dash. I doubt Dash will see play as more than a 2 of, but I'm super interested in trying him out. Dale, my boy, I'm so hyped. I'm hyped that we have a Dale that doesn't have to be played with Chip. Doesn't care about Chip. Just give me a cool Dale. Let Dale shine on his own. Let's go. I like the game strategy struggle of Ursula. I don't know if she's going to be good enough for that to be worth it, but I do like that. Snow White is a ton of fun. I like Lenny a lot. We'll see if Lenny is good enough to actually get anywhere. Metamorphosis, I want to do something cool with this card so bad. Don't know what it's going to be or if it's going to be worth it, but I want to. Yeah, so that's some very cool stuff. Let's go and I do always, oops, what happened? Hello? Okay, something happened. Let's go and let's take a look at our rarities. There we go. Let's take a look at our Enchanted and our Iconics. So another set with some insanely cool Enchanted art. I love the motif of them all having this circle. I think that that's a super cool thematic thing throughout the set. And yeah, fantastic pieces of art in that regard. And again, love the thematicness of it. Aliens, cool. Let's see. Jessie's face here creeps me out, but maybe that's because she's a toy, and that's the struggle. You Got a Friend in Me is cool. What else can I do? Probably one of the top 5 Enchanteds of all time. I want to go and at some point I want to go and do an Enchanted tier list and actually like rank all of the Enchanteds in the game and see what that looks like. Mr. Incredible is really cool. I love that we have Violet in the back cheering him on. This Louisa, this might be a hot take, but I like this art way more than this one. I don't really know why, because like I think this like the bracing themselves and still blocking stuff falling is super cool, but for some reason I really like the non-enchanted art more. So I guess I'll just need to open the enchanted so that I can see it in real life, just so I can compare. And then we do have Merida and Buzz as our iconics. I'm going to go on my little rant here that my friends have heard. One of the things that I loved the most about Fabled's iconics is that they went together. Like the art went together. And the characters were like thematically paired, of like Mickey and Minnie on the Ferris wheel. On the merry-go-round. There we go. And so I'm really sad that they've moved away from that. Obviously, like this set is not unique in that. It was really only Fabled that had that motif. But I really liked that motif, and I wish that like is something that they would have kept up, even as they're like I would have. That's why I wanted Woody and Buzz, was because those would have been characters that could easily have gone together in that motif. And here, like, I wish they could have done something here with Buzz and Merida to have the cards connect, even if it was something small, like you can see one in the background of the other and vice versa. The fact that you can't kind of makes me sad. Let's see what else. This Isabella is really cool. Is that okay? That is how the amber words are on the other one. Okay. The Family Shattered, very cool enchanted art. Here I love here that the circle for Mrs. Incredible is the Omni Droid. Or are those? Yeah, you can see the Omni Droid back there. Then on Syndrome, you have like his arms forming the circle. And then I think the Leviathan art is also really cool. I love it bursting out of the ground. So some very cool enchantments for this one. And then what do I think is what's going to be? Obviously, iconics are going to be crazy. And then Woody is our set champ. What do I think is going to be the big iconic for this set, or big enchanted for this set? Probably what else can I do? I think that card will be playable enough. And then that art is just so good that I think it'll be super cool. I could also see not necessarily the individual cards, but the like incredible trio of Mr. Incredible, Mrs. Incredible, and Jack Jack being something that a lot of people get and like display as a trio. Then obviously you can add Frozone to that as well if you want to do the full heroes from that movie. And I think you've got a friend in me, just based off of the impact of that song, that like the real life impact of that song, I think could also be a very like Chase enchanted that people are wanting again. Not necessarily based on the playability of the card, but based on the coolness of the card. So, but yeah, good stuff. I'm excited. I have like basically passed my 1 year playing Lorcana, and so that is very exciting. And so I'm very much looking forward to this. I'm also very excited for rotation. I'm very much looking forward to a smaller format again, just because I like seeing what all people do. I like all the back and forth. And then as we have our epics here, I want this Merida epic so bad. I think this one is super cool. Again, I just love that art so much. But yeah, some good stuff. I'm excited. We should have some more tournament stuff coming up to chat about. There's another Texas tournament in a couple of weeks, and then obviously Indy is on the horizon, and so some very cool stuff. I'm very excited to be digging into Infinity, and so I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of their Sunday. I will shout it out if people haven't already had the chance, but as a reminder, We do have our interview with Noe over on our YouTube channel, talking about her first set champs, getting into Lorcana, doing some content creation and stuff like that. So big shout outs there. And then as we get to the end of our stream, people may not have known, but yesterday was Free Comic Book Day. And so people had the chance to go to their local stores and get some comics. And I want to show off some of what I got at mine. So first off, they are giving away DC pins. Had to get the Green Lantern one. If anybody has recommendations of Panda Boy, how's it going? If anybody has recommendations of cool Green Lantern comics, let me know. Because I would like to read some. But I don't really know where to start. And so, Panda Boy, we've been chatting Lorcana, and now we're chatting Free Comic Book Day. And so, I went to Madness over in Plano, and picked up, I don't know if this is like the universal rule, but they do 10 comics. So, got Next Level, Lobo, Batman, and Deathstroke as the characters in that. We got Avengers Armageddon, which also has an X-Men tease in it. The Amazing Spider-Man, Queen in Black, which I've seen some crazy stuff on the subreddit about. We have an Avatar comic with, I believe that is our boy Roku. Mega Man. Did not know that there are Mega Man comics, but that is cool. I do love Mega Man. It has Battle Network stuff as the second thing. Got some webtoons with Unscrolled. And then picked up this one partially because I needed a 10th, but partially because the characters looked super cool. Ultimate Oz Universe Into the Outer Lands. I've never heard of this, but it looks really cool. And then we have Something is Killing the Children, Road to Slaughter. Potentially too scary for me because I don't like spooky, but we'll see. Kind of following that vibe, we have The Nice House on the Lake. Again, looks like it could be too spooky. I don't like being scared. And then I think this is, I don't know. I don't know how to say that. Use your best judgment. It looks like Disicium, but I don't know. Use your best judgment. Looks cool. Has a very interesting art cover. Very interesting cover with the art. I don't know what it's about, but it looks interesting. Good call, Panda. It could that second, the backwards C. Yeah, that one could be a D. Would be Decidium. That sounds more reasonable for a made-up word. That is also a word that I would not be surprised is a real thing and means something. But is not a word that like you regularly hear. And so, I feel like that happened recently with a video game thing, and now I can't remember what it was. There was some like game or a term in some game recently that like, oh no, this is just an actual word and it means what it means. And everyone was confused, but now I do not remember what that is. And then as part of Free Comic Book Day, or I should say going along with Free Comic Book Day, not as a part, that shop does a buy two get one on the whole store. And so I picked up some like various TCG supplies, a new deck box, some top loaders, stuff like that. Deanna got a new deck box as well. So I picked up some of that. But then on the TTRPG side, I picked up Starfinder 2nd Edition, Murder in Metal City, which is a deluxe adventure. So it's a 64-page book with an adventure for first-level characters, plus detailed articles about the planet Abalon, the city striving tech faiths of Abalon and creatures and characters in the adventure. And then, of course, has 6 pre-generated characters. And so, I over on First Geek 411, we will be doing Coriolis starting beginning of June as a space TTRPG, and that's very much had me in the vibes. And so I took the opportunity to pick up some Starfinder stuff. I did enjoy my Pathfinder 2E game that I was playing in, and so having this as like a handful of sessions Starfinder adventure, I think would be really cool. Some coworkers and I have talked about doing like a weekly board game lunch type thing, and this could definitely be something that like we play, we make an hour progress, we come back later in the week, make an hour progress, just as we have time and as people are available to come and be a part of it. And so very cool. I like it. I really like the Starfinder system. Now that it's kind of been brought in line with Pathfinder 2e. And then I have book 1 over here of Monstrous. I also picked up book 3. I had read this. I read book 1 for book club over in Mad Bird. They did not have book 2, but they have not regularly had the hardcovers. So with the sale, I took advantage of finally grabbing the one that they had. And so now I'm going to be on the lookout for book 2. So, because I really liked Monstrous when I read it last year. And so I think the art is super cool. And they had a bunch of Monstrous, but they were the soft covers. And since I have this one, I really wanted to make sure I was keeping them in vibes when it comes to only getting the hard covers. So once I can find part 2, I can go and read all of them, and then we can go from there because it is super hype. Definitely recommend. And like I said, I really enjoyed Monstrous when I read it. And so that was my free comic book day. Overall, some good stuff. Very excited. I had to hold back. Man, let me tell you. I talked about this over with First Geek, but Starfinder was kind of the example case. But since it's a buy 2, get 1, I've really thought about getting like the beginner boxes for like 3 different TTRPGs and just having them as a way of like, hey, let's get a group together. We're going to play this twice a month for 2 months and just play through this beginning adventure and then call it quits. And playing like a TTRPG campaign that like actually finishes, kind of like Until Winter's End over on First Geek 411 for Daggerheart that just finished, and we'll have our recap in 2 weeks. But yeah, I think that'd be fun to do. It's just like a way of trying different systems. As someone who loves trying different systems and kind of hates being like locked in to, let's just take D&D and reskin it. Picking on D&D just because it's the biggest one. And of course I say all of this where Starfinder 2e is just a reskin of Pathfinder. At least from its like core rules perspective. But yeah, so cool stuff. Love that local shop. Wish I could get there more. It's a little far away, and they don't do Lorcana, and so it's hard to make an excuse to go over there. Though I have played some Magic there in the past. But yeah, that's where we're at. Been a good time. Been a great stream. Appreciate everyone coming and being a part of it. Again, I want to shout out over on First Geek 411. Go check out Until Winter's End. Come and join us. I believe it's June 1st, that first Monday of June, as we do session 0 of Coriolis, The Great Dark, and start that new campaign. And then also over on our Cameron+Deanna YouTube, you can go and check out that interview with Noe, chatting all about getting into Lorcana, from Noe's Inkwell, I believe is her Instagram handle. And so have a great one, everyone. Appreciate you. Catch everyone around. Bye.